Hello!
Yeah, what is it you want to know now?
Well, I would like to know I would like you to share. How did you come up with the idea to connect muscles with the psychological function?
Because I have a brain damage.
A very useful one.
Yeah, a very useful one. I think in some way, because I've thought a lot about it. How is it that there is some people that suddenly connect things that you don't connect normally?
Yeah.
And when I see the high level of physician and others, philosophy and so, then they all have been very dyslexic.
Ah.
And a dyslexic person are thinking with both brain. So maybe that make it more easy for us to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But what I did was that I'm sensing my own body a lot, and I teach to people to sense their body. I got realization teacher. But in the same time, I started to recognize, we gave a special kind of massage. If you touch special muscle, the people start to talk about special things.
Mm-hmm.
And then
like specific theme would come up.
Yeah, a specific theme. So I recognized that, and then I start to use it if the person wants to work with something. And it works. And then I was thinking, oh, that theme fit with when the child starts to do this and this. The child like is creeping.
Yeah.
Then they start to get out in the world. Into that they have only been able to lay down, to roll, to look different places, but they have not been able
exploring
to go for something. Oh, I see some great color over there. I want to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you using there? When you creep, there's something on the backside, there's the arms, and you use the hands to grasp what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I start to see this combination.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew that the way we touch, we learn to touch and give massage. In some way we provoke muscles. So there was two people that get a kind of psychotic when I was studying.
Mm-hmm.
Even I got some of it. And the reason for me was all my war shock start to come up.
When you got the relaxation massages.
So I make a decision. I want to make a body map.
Mm-hmm.
So people knew when there was things they should not stay with. Because in some way we was learned to stay with very resistant muscles. What we now will call hyper-responsive in a dark level also. In 4
so they were very hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or how would you say?
I
Simple way to say.
I won't say hard. No, it is not. Because if you have a very trained muscle, it is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that hardness. It's
contact.
Elasticity in it is very rigid. There is no. And it was when it was very to collapse muscles.
And that was
what we will call hypo-responsive.
And the elasticity was really
gone.
Gone.
Like an old elastic.
Okay.
It don't come back. So then I tested and I sensed the elasticity, and I say to myself, and I say loud, when I let go, it goes slower.
Mm-hmm.
If I let go, it disappears. Or the hyper.
Mm-hmm.
I take it and it pushes me back.
Mm-hmm.
And in which degree does it push me back? So I did that for 3 months every day. And in that way, I have a very precise way to test. Because I've been together with a Norwegian physical therapist, Lillemor Johnson. There's the first to talk about the hypo muscle. But she called it under 10.
Under tense.
Yeah, and she also, I tried with her later, she tests a lot the fascia and not the muscle. And she could hear it. And I'm sure she could, but it's very difficult to train people in that. So when she don't want to come and train in our institute, I was thinking, okay, I will make my own. So I did. So then I make my own body map.
The way of testing it and finding out which muscles
finding
are...
the muscle and sensing the degree of hyper or hypo responsive.
And there you didn't have an...
I had an idea. I had the idea that all there is with the hand is what we give and take, or what we know. Like toes is more what we ground, and we able to ground our theory.
Yeah.
And then it is to come forward, it is to stand for, and the body have a lot more to do with the emotions, the breathing system and the emotions.
Okay.
So you know the quadratus lumborum, the one that is here, behind from the hips to the ribs, are really telling what there's inside you and what come out. Is there a balance between that, or did you hold all things inside, or are all things floating?
But this you didn't know before you was doing the...
I had the fantasy about it.
How come you come up with this
Because what are we using it for? What are you doing when you say no?
How did you notice what do we do when we say no?
If you stand up and you really want to stop a person, then you are doing this.
Yes.
Right? So I'm thinking about what are we doing with the body when we really had to use it.
Plek, Nala? Nala plek?
No, just take it out like that.
Our dog. We have a little dog here.
It's a puppy.
Yeah.
She still had to learn.
Yeah.
And then the next I did was that I worked myself with some client, and when I found hypo and hyper, there was only 2 degrees or 1 degree
out of 4.
Out of 4, and I provoked them. Then some memory come up, and then I could work with that together with the here and now. So, and then I was thinking, it fit with what Vygotsky is talking about. He's saying you should always have to work with the nearest
zone of development.
But not only of that, but if you say zone of development of the muscle, then it must be the one that is near the neutral. And that was what we start to work with. So then...
so you would not pick the most hyper or most hypo?
No, if you do that, people go into deep memory, but they cannot observe it at all, and they cannot integrate it of that reason.
So it cannot change?
No.
Or be...
No, it cannot integrate it, and they can be psychotic from it.
So it's actually dangerous.
Yeah, so I really want to not do that. And I have worked with psychotic people and schizophrenic people because I was asked to come to the hospital and work with them. So I really know what I talk about. I'm also in a workshop, one suddenly got psychotic, and I, with my hand, provoked get him out of the psychosis.
By using some specific muscles,
Yeah,
because you knew they were
I
not.
could see
Which ones
it
were?
disappeared, that this muscle collapsed. And we have not worked with him. It was because we worked with another one that was not at all psychotic or anything, but he took it, that in himself, and that was too much.
So you can really change a whole psychological state by provoking the muscle.
Yeah, you can, but I would not be able to do it 3 days after, that fast. And that fast, it was an hour. But still fasting, I will not be able to do that after that. And then, of course, he had to go in therapy a lot with people that didn't brought them back to the worst, but start to develop new possibilities, new coding system.
Okay, so you noticed that you, when you touch specific muscle, there comes a memory.
Yes. So then the next I did was, I got teacher in to teach this massage, and I say, okay, if I can start to train all the students to do the body map.
So to recognize.
So you know what not to touch for a long time. And that was okay. So I did that. And then a little later, next year, there was a lot of, we start to work more with the psychological content. It was a really good psychotherapy education, what was not the meaning, of course, but we did. And
lucky.
and then I ask every student that work with another one to make a paper and answer 4 different questions. What come up, from what age level?
When they touch a muscle, you mean?
Yeah, when they provoke a muscle. What kind of theme come up? I don't remember the last one right now. And also the person was treating had to answer. And he was not allowed to see each other's paper. And then after 5 years, I had around 15,000 answer. So it was a lot of work because you didn't have computer that time. So then I put them up in a schema and put it in every time.
Like categorize it.
Yes. So that was what I did. So it was not something coming down from the sky that I get inspiration and then, no, it was hard work.
Yeah, hours.
Hours of work, hours of night, because I have kids. So I worked and I had kids, and then I used the night. So I didn't sleep a lot in many, many years.
For us to benefit from it now.
I don't know, because I think it was important and I like to do it.
Yeah, and I remember you were saying for you it was logical.
And it was pretty logical, yeah. It was very logical.
I remember you saying once, how come nobody else did it before?
Yeah, I really wonder
how is the development connected to the...
So when people say, how did you come to that? And for me it was, what else? But it was hard work.
So when you collected all this information and you could put it in the categories, then you developed the...
And then I developed
the ego
aspect.
Ego aspect.
The ego aspect was the first thing. And then I trained the people in ego aspect. But to train the people in ego aspect...
Not ego functions.
Ego function.
Ego functions.
Sorry, ego function.
12 of them you got.
Yeah.
11 first.
11.
First.
11, I got 11, yeah. So I trained them in that, but I also trained them to see where in the ego function was it? At what age level?
What age? So even more specific.
And that was too much to train. So we need some other boxes to make it more easy to teach it. And a lot of people say, why don't you use Reich? Or because I have not read Reich alone in that time. And I read them and I didn't like them, and I say no. And then they say, but, and I say no.
Because that was the only other that did some kind of body connected interventions.
But we only talk about the hyper muscle, and they break them. And I didn't like that, and I didn't like the name they gave it, and so on. Then one of my colleagues, one day he come and say, you had to read this article. And it was Bodella that had tried to place Frank Lakes, there is an English psychiatrist and theologist, worked together. So Frank Lake is the first one. They say there is two early, what did that time called schizophrenic. There is two schizophrenic type too in the old way of named schizophrenic. One that gets stiff, and one that collapse. And if you take it away from the illness schizophrenia, then there's still two type, the early one and the later one. And the later one he called hysteric. They come out with all the emotions. And the early one, I don't remember what he called it now, mind person.
So that they are not hysteric, the opposite.
It's totally the opposite. They go into the mind level and logical and, get very rigid in that. And he described the first, what we will call the first character structure level, the early one, and then the need structure, what we call it now.
So the existence and the need.
Yeah. And then I could see if you had two the whole way up, then it fit with what I know and what I sense.
From the information also what you got.
And then I start to say, okay, let us sit down to this colleague for 3 months or 2 months, and then we make character structure, our character structure. And we need other names, and we need the three level, the early one, the late one, and the healthy one, the balanced one. Not healthy, the balanced one. And then we was looking at what muscle go in each time, age level.
From the baby to...
That we could find in Britta Holle and in all other that describe what muscle you start to use or what movement you start to do. And then when you do this movement, we knew what muscle you use.
So it's very fixed information.
Very concrete. And then we developed the character structure. It took a whole summer holiday. Poor kids.
But it's still the same, because I know...
that is still the same.
Some of your students, they try to replicate the information by asking their group or their clients to put the focus on specific muscle and describe what is happening, what themes come up. And it was like in your book.
Yes, exactly. I remember one time it was also in Japan. There was two professors, and now they have learned to provoke muscle. So they should provoke two muscle, like hypo and hyper. So
when you say provoke, what is that?
That is, you go in, and then when you had to learn it by sensation, but I will tell. You go in, and you stretch the muscle, and if it is hyper, you can only get it to here, and then you hold it there.
You stay in the same place.
And then the muscle go back and forth, you follow it. And the same with the hypo, you go in and then you go down again, and where it let go. No, you go in, and then you go out again, and then the hypo let go of the contact.
Yeah.
Exactly there you stay. Very, very soft. Like you, have you ever played with glue? You know, you can, how far can you take it before it breaks?
Yeah, so this is the point.
Yeah, so I also let come with glue and let my, or gums or whatever, and let my my student do it, eh? And then you go out there and you hold it there and you hold it there, and when it go a little in, you go in. When it go a little out, you go out. Whole time this little sensation, and then suddenly the memory come up. So they did it, and they took a muscle that had to do with being in groups, and the one and they could, because he could not remember what that muscle was connected with.
Okay.
So that was the reason they took it, because they want to do it to see what happened when they don't know. It is not them that produce it inside to you. They don't know. So they did it, and the one was talking about memory from the kindergarten. He took the other one, and that person was talking about memory from the school garden. And then they look up in the books, and then they find out that the one with the kindergarten, it was from that age, and the school, it was from that age. And then they jump up and down, dance. It's right, it is right. We have so much fun. Japanese make a lot of fun when you first know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never laughed so much that I did when I was in Japan. It is so nice.
Yeah. So I'm just, for me, it's a surprise when I use it on kids. I use it on kids, the muscle, that they would activate the muscle to get a certain strength or to certain mood. You know, if a child goes.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can do that too, eh? You can move them, but if you give them too much resistance in it, then you suddenly
don't give the effect.
Yeah, and you don't do that. If they do it themselves, then you more go into build a new coding. But if you give them the resistance, then you suddenly come down to or you provoke it, then you come down to the memory.
Yeah. So,
and I think that it's very important to work in a way where you first give more new coding system. You give what they didn't learn. You teach them what they didn't learn. And that means you have more resource. And when they then come back to the memory, they know now what to do and would be able to come out of it.
Because they have more skills.
They have more skills, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you just let them go into it, then they don't have skills to come out of it, and they can hang there for years.
So, concrete example, if I never learned a good way to say no, I would just shut myself up or disappear, and then I get taught what is a healthy way to say no by staying in contact. Then I can work on those themes where I didn't say no.
Exactly.
But not before.
No, not before you have a new coding. Yes, you can, but it don't help.
Yeah. What's the point?
No, but that is because if you take, like there is the first to write about it, because it's not the first to work with the body. It have another history. Then he do it. He let them go into the memory, and they cry and they yell or whatever they do, or they withdraw, and then they try to stay there to do some emotional release. But the emotion is not in the muscle. The emotion get developed. We know that now from the new brain research. The emotion get developed when you have the old memory, the same emotion you had that time.
So I remember something, and then my body recreate
the situation,
the chemistry, and then.
And if you go back to the anger you couldn't release, then you will continue go back to anger. You can release it, but it don't change anything. It recreate the anger, and it get nearly worse and worse and worse.
So more rigid.
Yeah, more rigid.
More stuck.
Yeah.
So the new information.
So if you have new possibility, what you can do instead, and you go back, then you can release it.
Yeah. And the muscles play here, or the body plays here.
The muscle is very important because the sensation, all our senses, eyes, ears, smell is, if you have memory about smell, it goes direct into memory.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. But also eyes. I know that there was a special place. We have a hall where there was a great green one. Not like you have, but a nice green. But a lot of our clients start to come with hospital trauma. And then I was thinking, what is going on here? Because we didn't have that before. And then suddenly, that green they use in hospital. Nearly all the hospital in Denmark.
So they got the memory.
So as soon as saw that, they have the memory of their worst trauma. So we gave it another color.
Good choice.
Or I think it even was a client that was saying, it's the same green at the hospital. And then it fitted me. That's the reason we have so many hospitals trauma now. And too early. They should have developed some resources first.
So back to the last muscles. So when
they have a deep, you use more than one muscle, and all the knowledge go into the brain and back and in. And, So it really have a deep impact in the coding system.
Because you connect the muscle with something cognitive as well, and with emotion, like those three.
So if you look at what we call the body knot, then all this is code in one.
Yeah.
The environment, the connection, and you, that is your muscle, your sensation, your feeling, and then your emotions, your feeling, and then what you want to do, and so on. All this is connected in one coding.
Yeah.
And you had to connect it to that coding, but first you had to develop another one.
Yeah.
So when you connect it to the rigid one, then it should be possible that you already say, oh, do this instead, the new coding.
Yeah.
So then you don't get stuck in the past.
Yeah, but that make it different, that you use your brain and use your emotion and use your muscle.
Yes, and understanding.
Yes. So it's not enough just talking.
No.
Or just releasing emotion.
No.
Or just
moving
the body. It has to be
a combination of all.
Yeah.
And when I work with children, I talk. Of course, I don't talk very abstractively 3 years, but I talk. Like you also see I do with your dog, there is starting to develop coding around what is okay to
Bark on.
that happened right now. She's starting to be guard dog, and then every time she sees something new, she had to bark. And that's okay. Of course she had to bark. Or she will not be a guard dog. But then I say, don't bark of that. That lived there. That had to stay there or whatever. We made a cat. And she was not that for property for some times ago. And the cat didn't try to hide, of course. And then I say, a cat, she look at me, it's the cat's house. It's the cat's ground. Okay, then we walk. So I do the same with children. What is this? And what happened now? It's not danger, it is danger. If there's a car, so we had to step back. So all this, so we had to stop. There's car, danger, stay. I nearly say the same to a child. There's 2 years. To train them to know what to be careful about.
Yeah.
That's cognitive. We need...
Yeah, all of it. But I just say that in the therapy world, there is separations.
Yeah, but there's also that difference. Cognitive work is to talk and understand.
Yeah.
I say, it's great to understand, but you had to be quiet. Grasp it. And grasp it is connected with sensing it in the body.
That's the connecting thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you grasp both with the hands and the toes.
Yeah.
With the hands, to use your brain in a way where you can grasp it, and with the feet, to use the toe to ground it.
Nice. Thank you.
Welcome.